Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. This video is about mixed climate messages from Democrats. In 2007, climate expert and Nobel laureate Al Gore predicted the Arctic would be ice-free by 2014.
Another new study to be presented by U.S. Navy researchers later this week warns it could happen in as little as 7 years. 7 years from now. In the last few months, it has been harder and harder to misinterpret the signs that our world is spinning out of kilter.
But just a few months later, Nobel laureate and climate expert Barack Obama announced that he had slowed the rise of the seas and healed the planet.
And I am absolutely certain that generations from now, we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when we began to provide care for the sick and good jobs to the jobless. This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal.
But now climate expert and future Nobel laureate Alexandria Cortez has announced the world will end in 12 years.
How many years until the world ends again? We have 12 years left to cut emissions by at least 50%, if not more. And for everyone who wants to make a joke about that, you may laugh, but your grandkids will not.
If the world ends in 12 years as she predicted, she's probably not going to have any grandchildren to discuss this with. And Barack Obama announced in 2008 that generations from now he will still be discussing how he healed the planet with his children. So how is he going to be talking to his children in 90 years if the planet ends in 12 years? I find these mixed messages from the Democrats very confusing. Meanwhile, the Arctic is full of very thick ice, 2 to 5 meters thick, and it's cold and snowing over the Arctic Ocean. This is very problematic for climate alarmists because the sun is highest in the sky right now, and if they don't get a lot of melting in June, a big summer melt just isn't going to happen. By the end of July, the sun is too low in the sky at the North Pole to produce any significant melt. So they only have about 6 weeks to melt 2 to 5 meters thick ice and make an honest man out of Al Gore, but it's snowing up there. This is a map National Geographic published in 1971 showing the ice extent at the end of the summer. Now let's compare that to current ice extent. In 1971 there was a lot of open water in the East Siberian Sea, the Chukchi Sea, Beaufort Sea, and around Svalbard. Right now there's no open water in the East Siberian Sea, a little bit in the Chukchi Sea, a little bit in the Beaufort Sea, and ice around Svalbard is the thickest it's been in many years. Al Gore better get his blowtorch out and start melting that Arctic pretty quick. But he's got a big problem. With the sun highest in the sky, this is supposed to be the biggest time for melting Arctic ice, but it's cold and snowing. Meanwhile, Russian sailors are making fun of brainless American climate alarmists. Maritime Bulletin, Maritime and Crimean Shipping News. Ice-free northern sea route again. I'm not joking. June 10th, 2019. Russian northern sea route dreams and fantasies are like Arctic ice. They just don't melt away, however fruitless they come to be. Here's the latest. Russia seeks to open its Arctic waters to world shipping. Back in 2009, or in any other year, NSR, Northern Sea Route, was never ice-free during 4 to 5 months, period. The biggest, in body size, scientist of all times, Al Gore predicted ice-free Arctic by 2005. Others said it will happen by 2009. Those who mentioned above predicted ice-free NSR by 2019. Now it's a new timeline, this time with no mistakes. It's year 2030. But I don't understand what's all the fuss with NSR anyway. In light of the latest very scientific studies dooming us into extinction by 2030, why bother with NSR, folks? Climate alarmists have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. They base their beliefs on the mutterings of a few clowns like Michael Mann and Katharine Hayhoe and announce that they represent the views of 97% of the scientists in the world. It'd be simple enough to do an opinion poll of the viewpoints of actual scientists, but that'll never happen because it would end their big lie. Last summer I was conversing with a cruise line company about a Northwest Passage voyage, which they ended up canceling because there was too much ice. And this year there's a lot more ice in the Northwest Passage. Climate alarmists live in their centrally heated, air-conditioned, fossil fuel-powered echo chamber. They imagine themselves to be very sophisticated when in fact they're some of the most clueless people who ever walked the face of the earth. The Arctic's not going to be ice-free anytime in the foreseeable future. The Maldives are not going to drown anytime in the foreseeable future. Miami's not going to drown anytime in the foreseeable future. But climate alarmists have erected a brick wall to keep any factual information out of the discussion. Fortunately, we have social media to get the facts across to the public. I'm gaining about 500 new subscribers a day on my YouTube channel. People are eager to hear the truth. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science for a long time.